Welcome into Top 5 Wednesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton, flanked by Wade Neely and Chris Yao, and I'm not really going to try to point to them because I don't know which direction my pointers work, but good hump day, y'all.
You know what works just as well? Clowns to the left and jokers to the right.
Stuck in the middle with y'all. Absolutely. Yep. There we go.
Doesn't matter which way you're looking.
I mean,
at it.
I'm not sure.
Accurate.
I'm not real sure who the clown is and who the joker is, but
it's accurate either way.
Either way. Speaking of jokes, again, it is Top 5 Wednesday. Final segment of the day. We will give you what was supposed to be our Top 5 Tuesday as we look at sports April Fool's pranks. Even though it's a Tuesday thing for us, we felt like this was so good we had to bring it to you despite our weather issues, our potential power and internet issues that kept us off the air yesterday. So we're
my list just shrank significantly because I didn't just stick to sports. Oops. We'll be doing some research during the show.
Oh, yeah.
That's all right.
Okay. Sorry about that. Yeah. Sports April Fool's pranks / stories is what we'll be giving you our top 5 in. That will come at the end of the show. Earlier, in the second hour, we will continue our Wednesday visits with Joe Sullivan of NashvilleHoops.blog. We'll talk a little local hoops. There is an interesting transfer portal item, apparently, that bears discussing. And I'm just going to wait till Joe comes on to get any deeper into that. In our next segment, we will talk NASCAR with our NASCAR analyst, Heather Williams of WCYB TV out of Johnson City, talking a little Richmond, talking a little Martinsville, and whatever, and probably talking some Kansas City Royals because, again, that's Heather's team, and we like to keep her happy so that she continues to come on with us on Wednesday. So, lot more to come over this next couple of hours, so stay with us. But I guess, guys, how was y'all's off day yesterday?
Well, I was going to say, speaking of April Fool's joke, I know it got worse north of Giles County, but it was kind of an April Fool's joke here. It really never materialized. Got some rain. They let school out early. That's the classic rule of thumb. If they let school out early, weather's going to be fine. If you keep the kids in school, buckle up. Things could get dicey.
Yeah. I guess we kind of operated out of an abundance of caution. I mean, I lost power around 11:15, 11:30 yesterday. And
that wasn't even the worst of it.
Yeah. But
the weather was coming. It wasn't even there yet.
Yeah. Well, it was coming. And so, again, just kind of felt like better to drop back and punt than try to punch through that. And as it turned out, by 2:00, I think we probably would have been fine. But
maybe.
I
still don't feel good, so it is what it is.
Well, you're just gonna have to. Are you hurt or are you injured?
Yeah, that's what I was.
I'm definitely hurt, but I don't think I'm injured. I'm here, so.
Okay. All right. Suck it up, Buttercup. Let's give y'all yesterday's results such as they were and today's schedule such as it is on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
All right, folks, we begin the rundown as always on the diamond. Surprise. Not many games got played yesterday, folks, but we did have a couple of games, both locally and regionally, that we did get in the books. And on the diamond, Franklin defeated Centennial yesterday in baseball action 13-9. That was really all the games of note in terms of our coverage area, baseball, softball, or soccer. But into the professional ranks, the NHL, the Preds fell at home. Boston got a couple of goals late. They win it 3-0 in Smashville last night. Again, the Bruins 3, Preds 0. Major League Baseball, the White Sox were a 3-2 winner over the Braves. The Blue Jays defeated the Astros 2-1. And the Sounds did sneak in a game 5-4. They win it versus the St. Paul Saints to cap yesterday's results. Give you a couple of schedule items for today, and staying with baseball at 4 o'clock, Lipscomb Academy is going to travel to Brentwood Academy. Also at 4, Murfreesboro Central Magnets at Lawrence County. That's a good district showdown between those two rivals there. 4:30 window, Webb School is at Middle Tennessee Christian. Brentwood is at Nolensville. Summit is at Page this evening. MBA travels to Pope John Paul II. CPA is at Innsworth. McGavick travels to Good Pasture. 6 o'clock starts. Gallatin at Green Hill. Wilson Central at Laverne. Riverdale at Siegel. 6:30 start times now between Loretto and Lewis County. Rockville at Oakland. Independence at Ravenwood. And capping the action tonight at 7 o'clock, Macon County at Station Camp. Smyrna at Stewart's Creek. Mount Juliet at Hendersonville. And don't have start times listed. And we actually have multiple opponents listed, but we have Forest at Eagleville and we have Fayetteville at Eagleville. I can tell you that
Go to Eagleville.
Eagleville's going to play a game. Show up.
Maybe they're going to play too. Maybe that is a doubleheader.
Could be a double.
It's a try match.
Yeah.
Forest and Fayetteville we're going to play afterwards.
We're going to play 3 and just see what happens. But yeah, if you show up to Eagleville, there's a pretty good chance you're going to see a baseball game, and you might even get
Against
lucky.
a team that starts with F.
You might see 2. Yeah,
exactly. Baseball schedule for today.
Softball? Yeah, let's do softball. Riverdale's at Green Hill at 4, as is Lawson at Hillsboro at 4:30. Pope Prep welcomes Innsworth, and Forest is at Friendship Christian. Station Camp goes to Macon County at 5, as does Joe Burns to Springfield. Blackman is at home at 5:30 against Rockville. Clarksville welcomes Kirkwood same time, and at 6 it's Oakland at Mount Juliet and Stewart's Creek at Cookeville.
On the pitch, Richland goes to Fayetteville for a 6 o'clock first touch. At 7, Rockvale is at Blackman. In the association, Memphis goes to Milwaukee for a 7 o'clock tip. That game can be seen on Bally Sports Midwest, I guess. Braves and White Sox are supposed to be playing. Rain, snow, and other inclement weather expected wiped out that series finale that was supposed to have started at 1:10. That game has been rescheduled for June 27th, more later in the show on that. But Houston hosting Toronto, that is a 7 o'clock start. You can see it, 7:10 start. You can see it on the Major League Network. And at 6:35, the Sounds continue their series at First Horizon Park against the St. Paul Saints. That is your rundown. Today's top story brought to you, as always, by Piggly Wiggly over in Neely's Mill here in Columbia. Be sure and get by there for their delicious daily deli lunch options, as well as their hand-cut meats, and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. So, Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, bringing you our top story. And this is interesting. After one season at the University of Southern California, which was curtailed, I guess, by some cardiac issues earlier in the year, freshman Bronny James, you might know the name, has entered the transfer portal. Intriguing to me in that LeBron's former high school coach at St. Vincent St. Mary's in Akron, Keith Dambrot, just retired as coach of Duquesne after leading the Dukes to the NCAA tournament. Coach Dambrot was replaced by Drew Joyce, who was on the staff and is a former teammate of LeBron James's at SVSM. I don't know if the dots connect to get Bronny from LA to Pittsburgh, but I don't think it can be discounted.
No, I don't think so. And a couple immediate things for me is Kind of obviously, as Mo just mentioned a moment ago, is a shortened season for Bronny, and with the issues, I don't know that we got a true evaluation of what he's potentially capable of. And he scored in double digits in just 3 of his games, playing basically the second half of the season for USC, and averaged nearly 5 points a game, averaged nearly 3 rebounds a game. So it's kind of, in some ways, it's kind of too early to tell how good he is, so to speak. And yeah, the family connection certainly makes a lot of sense. And this is going to be an interesting transfer because coming into his collegiate recruiting process, obviously there was so much hype and all the talk about LeBron saying he wants to play with his son before he departs. And now it's kind of all gotten thrown up in the air a little bit with the issues last year with the cardiac issues, and then just not having a lot of tangible results or quality results. So I could see him ending up at a spot like that. And then maybe, big fish, smaller pond type situation. Schools like Oregon was really, really after him in the first go around. Obviously the Nike connection with his dad could be intriguing, or maybe he decides to somehow just stay on the West Coast. School randomly, USA Today's got a list you can kind of look at. They throw out a school like Pepperdine, where you can kind of still stay on the West Coast and still kind of get some seasoning on him. But it will be interesting. Obviously, it's going to be big-time news considering who he is and who his father is, of course.
Did you just say Pepperdine and seasoning?
That was not intended. That was not intended, folks. But yes.
I wonder if Ohio State is in the mix again. I mean, you talked about some folks who were in the mix for him the first go around. The Buckeyes were, so I wonder if they will be for round 2 as well.
Well, and that's an interesting question for me, at least, is he cool going to a program and being second or third fiddle, or maybe even third or fourth fiddle? Duke obviously is a school that LeBron, long talked about that he would have loved to have played at back in the day. And I'm putting my Duke hatred to the side here. I mean, objectively, he, especially next year with Cooper Flagg, the nation's #1 recruit coming in, it's safe to say that he would be at minimum second fiddle there. If he's cool taking on that role, then yeah, I think a lot of those schools are in play, like in Ohio State, like in Oregon. But if he wants to be that bigger fish in the smaller pond and maybe potentially help his draft stock further, I guess, then yeah, a school like Pepperdine, again, I would have never thought that, but they're listed on this USA Today article that I'm reading, or somewhere potentially like Duquesne could be a fantastic spot. And obviously a school that's had some success in the tournament, as we saw this year.
I've not spent an extensive amount of time on the West Coast, but if I had, I think you'd have a tough time getting me off of it. That's just me, especially as a 18, 19, 20-year-old.
Kid came in as number 19 recruit in the country and was placed on the McDonald's All-American team, and I'm just going to leave it. I mean, I don't know what level the cardiac issues played in his production or lack thereof this season for USC, but to me, I feel like if he feels like he's capable of playing at the Power 5 level, he's going to play at the Power 5 level. Seems silly to transfer from USC to go to another Big Ten school, though, considering you're going to be playing Big Ten opponents at USC. So I don't understand that doesn't make that's silly to me. So I just don't know. I think this is an interesting situation.
Well, I mean, maybe it's just a go somewhere to get more playing time. I mean, and maybe that's where the conference affiliation does not necessarily play a role, although it's
USC's not.
It's still mind-boggling when you think USC, Oregon, Ohio State, Big Ten.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
it's Ohio just jarring.
I know Ohio State didn't make the tournament, but I mean, it's not like USC is, busting down the door of the Sweet 16.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it just kind of comes to what is it he's looking for, and
Yeah, and I don't know.
I don't know. Like you said, I mean, Wade mentioned, potentially boosting his pro stock. I still think Duquesne is going to be a bigger player in this than you would expect under normal circumstances, because these circumstances aren't normal.
Yep, not normal. And I mean, obviously, we've discussed many times on this show, nothing keeping him from going to a smaller school for a year and then just reloading and doing this again if the tape is good, and then either declaring for the draft at that point in time or reload to an Ohio State, reload to Oregon, and kind of potentially play the game that way if you wanted to.
Well, he certainly would
nothing
not be
right
the
now.
first. Yeah, he certainly would not be the first, or he would be the first we're going to talk about today, but he won't be the last that we talk about stepping back and then possibly stepping back up. So the portal makes a lot of things particularly interesting all of a sudden.
And what happens with the West Virginia ruling where the transfer portal is wide open at all times? I mean, does it stay open through that secondary period, or does he have to stick where he's at until he graduates? That's the question.
A lot of
because right
questions.
now there is there are no rules in the transfer portal, but there very well could be by that time.
Yeah, I mean, they could be reinstated, I guess, theoretically. So,
yeah.
Wait.
I was just going to say, and just the thing for me taken away from all this is there was a lot of questions really about how good this kid was going to be even before the issues last year. And I think the whole timeline for Bronny and potentially LeBron obviously may have just gotten pushed back a year. But if he goes and ends up at the right school, puts together decent enough tape, we know how this play ends up too, obviously, right? If he declares for the draft, someone's going to take him for no matter if it's in the second round or not. I mean, someone's going to take him after 1 year, whether his tape is any good or not, just for reasons that really don't need to be super hashed out, right?
No, they're pretty obvious. and with that said, I wonder if the question is less about him getting more tape and more about him playing a full season at full health.
Yeah, that's probably a better way to look at it, honestly.
So it's a lot to unpack here with this one. There's also a lot to unpack with 3 goals in less than 7 minutes last night as the Preds dropped their third straight to visiting Boston.
Saw this potentially coming just with the tough schedule. Colorado and Boston back to back. I mean, Boston is legit. It's not panic mode just yet, but yeah, not a great result last night at home.
No, and the first goal was a shorthanded goal.
That's even worse.
Yeah.
We're on the power play out here.
We're on the power play and give up a goal after being scoreless through 53 plus minutes. And yeah, you give up a shorthanded goal, you give up an even strength goal, you give up an empty netter, and all of a sudden what had been a nail biter becomes almost a laugher. That one was a really tough one to watch, but I don't know who do they have next? Do we know off the top?
Got the Blues on Thursday
in St. Louis,
home game, and then at the Islanders Saturday, at the Devils on Sunday. So you got a back-to-back this weekend, but obviously a huge game Thursday versus St. Louis.
3 games in 4 days.
Definitely got the Blues, that's for sure.
Yeah. No rhythm though.
No rhythm right now. Not positive rhythm either. Yeah.
Home games remaining. They play next Tuesday at home versus Winnipeg, and then they close it out next Saturday at home versus Columbus. And I gave you guys the Islanders Saturday, the Devils Sunday, next Friday. So they have a back-to-back next Friday, Saturday. The Blackhawks will host the Preds on the 12th. That's the Friday game. And then they close the regular season in Pittsburgh the Monday, the 15th.
Well, all right. you'd like to count that Blackhawks as a dub, but you would also like to have counted that trip to Arizona as a dub. So all of a sudden, we don't know. What we do know is when we come back to the Lee Company studios after this break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, we will be joined by Heather Williams of WCYB of Johnson City, talking a little vroom vroom. Stay with us when we come back. Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers. Putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
Welcome back to the scattered Lee Company studios for Top 5 Wednesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia.
Just
Later in the show,
a Highway 31 studio at this point. Just straight up 31.
There we go. Just keep coming. Yeah. Later in the show, we will be giving you our top 5 sports related April Fool's pranks and stories. Sorry, y'all. I guess we should have gotten that finalized at some point before 2:00. But right now, though, we are joined by at Sports Heather on Twitter or X. Also at WCYB_Heather. She's got 2 accounts.
Your choice.
Yeah, pick one. But
I've actually really just used the Sports Heather one, but when I left my previous job and changed my Twitter handle, a spam bot got a hold of my previous account and made my at KWitch Heather like something that was like a porn account, and so I didn't want that to happen again. So
makes sense.
I claimed it too.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Enough of that.
Just sharing the real stuff.
Hey, how's your Wednesday? You look like you're out and about.
I am out and about. I'm actually off today, so I'm out running errands. So.
Oh, okay. Well, we appreciate you taking a break from your errands to visit with us. I guess this past weekend at Richmond was another case of it's not how many, but when. Denny Hamlin leads 17 laps, but he leads the last one to win.
Yes, and no matter what Denny does, he always finds controversy. That's what you were about to say, wasn't it?
It wasn't, but I'll let you go right ahead.
Well, it's funny because I actually had a Zoom already set up with Denny for this week before he won, and so NASCAR does like a media tour of drivers on Zoom every week, and they set them up in advance. And so it just so happened that Denny was this week, and I was probably the 4th or 5th person in line. And by the time I asked him about the restart, he gave me a really good answer. I put it out on my Twitter, but then shortly after he tweeted he was tired of talking about it. So I think he was tired of talking about it for sure. But he did jump the restart. He admits it. NASCAR says they missed the call that he jumped the restart. When I asked Denny about it yesterday, he said, look, trying to game the game, right? That's what everybody's trying to do. Everybody's, they were dragging the brake a little bit, trying to, game the game and get bunched up and beat me. And so I was trying to game the game and get on the gas before they could after they were dragging the brake. And it's all a cat and mouse game, right? So he didn't time it completely right. He admits that, but he also got away with it. So it was the right decision.
Well,
it's only illegal if you get caught, right?
That's right.
His answer on the podcast was a little different, but
that's
okay.
I asked him a little bit different question than just then did you jump the restart? I asked him, would you have done anything differently?
It was just his answer on the podcast of I went really early in the zone. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that's what he was. I mean,
yeah.
That's basically the same thing. I mean, he was trying to game the system, right? He was trying to anticipate what everybody around him was trying to do and do the opposite to beat them. So, yeah. I mean, I don't necessarily think it's a different answer because I asked a different question because I knew he was going to get asked all day, did you jump the restart? So I didn't want to ask him that. I wanted to ask him, knowing what you know now, would you have done it differently? And his answer was no. I was trying to game the game. I didn't necessarily time it correctly, but I that's what I was trying to do.
Well,
and he got away with it.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. I think it's. I think that's in NASCAR. I mean, how many times have we have people loved the picture of Dale Earnhardt lifting his car with his foot during pre-race inspection? Come on now, it just is. You do what you do to find a little advantage, and if NASCAR doesn't catch you, they don't catch you.
And I mean, it's a different sport, but as LaDainian Tomlinson so famously said, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. I mean, I'm not even sure that this is cheating. He just
it to me, it's the akin in other sports of calling a ball outside of a strike for strike 3, or missing a pass interference call in the playoffs. I mean, it's the same kind of thing, right? It's judgment. And at full speed, when those cars are even on the restart, by the time they get to full speed, they're going close to at Richmond, probably, 60, 70 miles an hour. And you're talking about he jumped the start by like that much. You can't see that in real time. And Elton Sawyer was on Sirius Satellite Radio yesterday, and he basically said, if that's lap 50 and he does that, we've got time to check the film, to look at it, to say, okay, 11 jump the start, pass through penalty, serve your time. But by the time they have a chance to look at the replay and do all that, Denny's doing burnouts. Then what at that point? stop the burnouts. Here we go. No. So, I mean, it is what it is. It's part of the game, just like a blown strike 3 call or a pass interference call in football.
Hamlin wins it by just over a quarter of a second over Joey Logano. Kyle Larson third. Martin Truex, who led 228 laps, finishes fourth. And
yeah, and
I mean,
I've never seen him so unhappy in my life.
I mean, again, it's not how many, it's win, but goodness gracious, that's awful.
Here's your 5 points. Enjoy.
Well, the thing, well, he actually ended up with more points than Denny did from the race. So I'm not even sure that, like, other than the fact that he doesn't have the automatic bid into the playoffs, that he's better off than Denny at this point. Mm-hmm. He got more points out of the race. He's still the points leader. And winning the championship is the ultimate goal, right? So, however, I guess the thing that was so surprising for me about Martin is that he's been doing this a long time, and his running into Kyle Larson, who, as far as I could tell, didn't do anything to him, and then running up on the back of his teammate afterwards because he jumped the start. I was just surprised by that. I've never seen that from Martin before, and I get it. He's frustrated, but as I just said, you are still the points leader. You did get a lot of points. You had a good day. When you keep finishing in the top 5, the win's going to come eventually, and he should know that. But I mean, we all have bad days. We all get frustrated. He should have won the race. He felt like he should have run the race. His pit crew let him down in the pits, because one of the other things that Denny said, actually in his tweet yesterday, was me jumping the restart didn't win the race. My pit crew getting me out of pit road first is what won me the race, because he gained 3 spots in the pits. Right, he went from running 4th to running 1st. In a 2-lap shootout, that's a huge difference.
Not the only issues between drivers, Kyle Larson and Martin Truex, local fan favorite maybe here in Middle Tennessee, but also local driver, I guess, through Trackhouse. Daniel Suarez and Josh Berry got into it a little bit. Seemed like Josh was accepting of his potential mistake, but interesting that those two were into it, I thought.
Yeah, it is interesting because I guess Josh more than Daniel doesn't really have a short track background, but when you come from a short track background, you have to kind of expect some of that at that kind of a race. And I didn't really see anything at Richmond that should have anyone like not returning people's phone calls. Like, I didn't see anything egregious from any driver, right? I didn't see any reason for people to get really mad, because also Martin Truex was mad at Bubba for spinning Larson, but Larson checked up in front of Bubba. I mean, Bubba admitted he didn't check up, but he caused the accident. But then that ended up costing Bubba more than anyone else, because Bubba went from running 4th and he finished 13th because they had a terrible pit stop, and Kyle Larson got back up to the top 5. So I don't know. I didn't really see anything throughout the whole day that was like egregious on anyone's part. It's just short track racing. It's part of it. And I think probably, once people calmed down and looked back at it, most of the drivers probably felt the same way. It's just short track racing. That's just a part of it when it's so hard to pass and the cars are so equal.
Now, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Wade.
I was just going to say, Heather, I got 2 quick questions. Both are extremely serious, but you can answer them whichever way you'd like. I was going to ask you about Martinsville this weekend, your thoughts on Martinsville, but it's a Cookout 400, and I got to know, what is your favorite item to order off the menu at Cookout? Because this is a pertinent answer, and there are wrong answers, for the record.
Well, my answer is definitely going to be wrong, because I've never eaten at Cookout.
What?
That is indeed a wrong answer.
That is a wrong answer. Yeah.
The correct answer is Hush Puppies. Their Hush Puppies are top tier, elite.
There's not really.
You don't have a Cookout in the Tri-Cities?
I mean, there's only one Cookout in Bristol. There's one in Bristol, Virginia, but it's completely out of the way of anywhere I ever go. And so, actually, there might be more than one. There might be one in Jonesboro too. There's one in Bristol, Virginia, for sure. I think there might be one in Jonesboro, but the locations are places I don't go to very often. So I've seen them, but it's never been at a time where I've had the inclination to stop, and they're out of the way enough that I would not make a special trip just to go there. So
that's fair.
Maybe when I'm in Martinsville area, since apparently there are some in that area, maybe I will do that.
Yeah, this seems like the perfect week to broaden those horizons in that regard, I guess.
So you're going to Martinsville, Heather?
I know. Look, I am going to Martinsville. Yes.
Cool. Okay.
It's only like about a 2.5 hour drive from Bristol. So.
Okay. What do you expect this weekend? We've had back to back multiple winners with Byron 2 weeks ago out at Texas, and now Hamlin. In 7 races, we've got 2 multiple winners. You expect that streak to suddenly continue?
Well, both of those drivers you just mentioned are absolutely threats to win their 3rd race of the year. Both of them are very good at Martinsville. Both of them have won there recently. So, that's a possibility. But there are a lot of guys that are good at Martinsville because Martinsville's kind of a driver's track. Beating and banging and, the old bump and run is what works well there. I expect to see a lot more hurt feelings and upset tempers after Martinsville than I did at Richmond for sure. And, the top guys in the sport are the guys that are good there. I mean, Larson, Truex, Bubba, Denny and William, as I mentioned, Joey Logano. Last year, Ryan Blaney used that win to propel him to the championship, to get into that final round and then put himself in the position to win the championship. Those are the guys that are good there. So, and I think that there's a lot of emphasis put on this race because that is, other than Phoenix, the most important race of the year because it's the one that gets you into Phoenix. If you're in the final 8, you want to win Martinsville because that guarantees you a spot in the champion. It's your last chance to get into the championship 4. So, I think you'll see all the best teams up front, trying to see what they will have when they come back in November or like October. I'm not sure how the schedule works out. I think it's later this year because of the Olympics. So it'd be November.
Wait, NASCAR takes a break for the Olympics?
They will take a 2-week break this year for the Olympics. Yes.
Is there NASCAR in the Olympics or something, or what?
No, because they can't get
TV.
They can't get the inventory on NBC. NASCAR's on NBC at that point in the season, and there's just no places to put the races on TV.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Speaking of taking a break, because this has been the topic of discussion on any and every NASCAR podcast or think tank or anything else. And of course, Heather's okay. There she's back. Thank goodness. Easter.
Yes.
Do they really think it's working, or is it a serious threat to 1, stop racing on Easter, and 2, take that second date away from Richmond right now?
I think that Richmond losing the second date is at this point a bigger threat than Easter. Okay. I think Fox really wants to make Easter work, and I think they're going to keep trying it in tracks until they find one where it works. And
Richmond ain't it, huh?
Well, no, Richmond. I mean, the stands were empty, and I don't think the ratings were very good. Now, they had the disadvantage this year with Richmond with the ratings of being in the middle of March Madness, and that hurt them quite a bit. In addition to Easter, right? Because if people were going to carve a chunk out of their time on Sunday to watch TV, it was going to be March Madness over racing, just because of what's at stake, right? This is just a random regular season race, and we're talking about trips to the Final Four in March Madness. So, but those stands were empty. People talked a lot about how empty Bristol was in the spring. It's not even a comparison. I mean, a half empty Bristol is 60,000 people. A half empty Martinsville is like 20. And I don't even think it was half empty. I would be surprised if there were 10,000 people at Richmond. It was bad. And what makes it worse is that even when it wasn't on Easter, the attendance was going down significantly. I mean, it has looked bad at Richmond for a while. And so I think that that's probably, as they start to look for maybe a points race at North Wilkesboro, as they look for maybe trying to get the fairgrounds on the schedule, or, there's been some talk of trying to, way down the line, revive Rockingham or something like that. When you're looking at more and more tracks and more places, you can't have 15 to 20,000 people in the stands. That's not going to cut it. So I think that's a bigger threat.
So let's unpack this culturally, because the vast majority of NASCAR fans are in the South, and the vast majority of Southern people, if they're going to go to church, they're going to go to church on at least 2 days a year. And Easter's one of them. And so, I mean, to me, it just feels like NASCAR had it right in the beginning. And like that's a problem.
Well, but the race is on a Sunday night. You're not at church on a Sunday night.
But you're not
race in the afternoon.
But you're not leaving church to go to the race. I mean, clearly they're not. I mean, that's no matter where it is.
I mean, yes and no. I mean, I think that there were probably 40 or 50,000 people when they were racing Easter Sunday at Bristol. I don't know what they did at Richmond, but Bristol had a huge church service where they brought in like nationally known evangelicals and stuff, and did Easter egg hunts for the kids, the whole thing, and did Easter at the track and made a big deal of it. I have no idea how they handled that at Richmond.
Well, at 50,000 people, that's still a pretty good day. If it's only half full, that's a good day.
Right. At Bristol. And I don't know how they handled it at Richmond. They may have not done any of that. So
Gotcha.
I don't know. But I don't think that they to be fair from Fox's standpoint, and really NASCAR's standpoint, except for Richmond was so bad, they don't really care how many people are in the stands.
Right.
To a point.
They
Now Richmond was
watching.
so bad. It was so noticeable. It was so bad. But they don't really care. They want the eyeballs on television. They have decided in their head, and it's going to take a while, from what I understand, to talk them out of it. They have decided that they want NASCAR on Easter to be like the NFL on Thanksgiving and the NBA on Christmas.
Well, the NFL's taking Christmas too, so watch out. The NFL might try to take over Easter.
But that's what they've decided. Fair. But that's what they've decided. That's what they want it to be. So, they're going to keep searching to find, and maybe the answer to that is to take it out of the South, right? To have that race be when California Speedway is rebuilt as a short track, at that track, or at Phoenix, or at Vegas. That might be the answer. I don't know, but I think they're going to keep hammering at it till they have exhausted all efforts.
Thank you.
Heather Williams, you can find her at Sports Heather on X or on Twitter or however you refer to that social media platform. You can find her here every Wednesday at 2:20. We appreciate you and look forward to visiting with you next week, Heather. And you're welcome for not bringing up your Royals.
Well, I was going to ask you, so seriously, the Royals are playing fine. I mean, we just beat Baltimore. We're fine. We lost opening day to the guy who's probably going to win the Cy Young. Other than that, we've won 2 of the last 3 or 2 of the last 4. I mean, they're in good shape. I'm more concerned, is Nashville going to try to steal the Royals, since they voted down the new stadium for the Royals that night?
I can tell you this. If he don't want to pay for a stadium, then he ain't coming to Nashville, because he's going to have to pay for it here too.
Okay. Well, that makes me feel a little bit better. Well, the thing is that he is paying for half of it. I think he pledged $1 billion of his own money for the stadium and the surrounding area.
I have no issues with the way that they're building stadiums now. That's we've made that clear here on this show, Mo, about my stance on that. But yeah, I think there's a better chance that Salt Lake pays for it than Kansas City or Nashville, either one.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they're leaving. He said they're not leaving, but they also said they're listening to all offers. So I didn't know if Nashville was like if there was any talk there about if that was a possibility or.
No, I don't really see an offer forthcoming. So I think you're okay as far as that goes, even though they'd be closer for you.
There you go.
Yeah, but it's not the same.
There we go. I understand.
If the Braves moved to Nashville, you would feel the same way.
Yes, you are correct. Yeah. Heather, we appreciate it. We'll catch up with you next week.
All right, sounds good, guys.
Thank you. Speaking of the Braves, when we come back to the Lee Company studios along Highway 31 here on Main Street Sports Today, we're going to talk a little Braves. So stay with us after the break.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers. Putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA. With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
April 3rd, 2000 marked the return of the big cat, Andres Galarraga, and he did so in a big way. After missing the 1999 season battling non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, Galarraga's seventh-inning solo homer was followed by an Andrew Jones solo shot as the Braves defeated visiting Colorado 2-0 in their season opener. Yes?
Galarraga against the Rockies doing it. That's just unfortunate for them.
That's wrong place, wrong time for the Rockies there, unfortunately. Galarraga went on to make his fifth All-Star game that summer. That was this day in Braves history.
Number 14.
Yeah. So we talked about the big cat. Now let's talk about the big bear. Mr. Ozuna hit a pair of solo shots last night, and that was all the Braves got in their 3-2 loss at the White Sox.
Should have been enough to win.
Should have been enough to win. I mean, when you're giving up pinch hit home runs to Paul DeJong or however you pronounce it, it's tough. But I mean, got a great start out of Ronaldo Lopez in his season opener against his former team. Just tough night. Happens. And
baseball.
It is baseball. It's 1 of 162. Not going to get too torn up about it. Again, wound up splitting the series because today's 110 game didn't come off due to, if you can believe this, cold weather in Chicago on April 3rd.
Shocking news.
I'm shocked and appalled. So instead of playing that game, having an off day tomorrow and opening at home against Arizona on Friday, the Braves get an extra off day, which they will lose on June 27th. They will go to New York for 3. They'll go to New York for 3 against the Mets, go to St. Louis for 3 against St. Louis, and then on that Thursday, the 27th, they will make this game up before coming home for a 8-game homestand against Pittsburgh, the Giants, and the Phillies. I'm sorry, 9-game homestand. So they're going to play 7, 14. They're going to play 17 games in a row because of this snow out today.
Well, that's unfortunate because that means that there will be a Braves game on during my anniversary and wife's birthday. So,
what is that? The 27th?
Yeah.
Oh.
It was initially an off day. I was going to have nothing to annoy, to distract me.
Nothing to distract you from putting your full attention on your other half, huh? And now
it's okay. It's still the White Sox. I think I'll be fine.
You thought that last night too, didn't you?
Not really. Look, I fully expected Garrett Crochet to be. No, I'm just kidding. I had no expectations for Garrett Crochet, but hey, Vol for life, man, doing it big. Congrats to him, and what a heck of a night for that guy. And congrats to our friend Christopher Gabriel for getting a split in this series.
Hey, yeah, Crochet dealt for sure after the Braves won 9-0 and 8 on Monday in the cold. So want to talk for a few seconds though, because while our Braves fell to 3-2, the Astros fell to 1-4 with their loss to Toronto yesterday. But that one.
It was a big one.
Remind me, Ronel who?
Ronel Blanco, of course.
Ronel Blanco throws the earliest no-hitter in MLB history on Monday as the Astros defeat Toronto. And it wasn't even close, was it? Was it 10-0? Wasn't that the score?
Yep, 10-0. 10 run after 7, I joked.
So they got everything together for one night, the Astros did.
Yeah, and it was crazy. This is a guy who's even for Houston, what is not expected to do this. Just his 8th MLB start. He had not thrown more than 6 in a game. And classic no-hitter. Even in the 9th inning, he had to get some crazy defensive plays to keep that thing alive. And the good news is, the outcome was never really in doubt. So it was cool to see, which is crazy too. 17th all-time Astros no-hitter. They've had 6 since 2019, including one last year from Valdez, who obviously you would more likely expect than Ronel Blanco. But the win was the most important thing because they definitely needed a win at that point.
That 17 is the most of any major league franchise, isn't it?
Yep, and they've thrown several of the combined no hitters, which is going to become more and more of a thing, or has become more and more of a thing. But it's been fun to watch them play, and in terms of pulling these crazy feats off. They still haven't thrown a perfect game though, which is kind of crazy to think about. You got 17, but you've had no perfect games. But again, like you guys said a moment ago, it's only 1 out of 162, and then they follow up with the loss last night. So it is what it is.
I think the 10-0 weighs heavily in that not being at best a combined no hitter, just because, I mean, you knew you could let him roll, right? I mean, there was no, do we need to go get him? Can we leave him out there? I mean,
the only stress was the no hitter.
Right. And probably as soon as he gave one up, he would have gotten the hook. So he just never gave one up. Astros scored 3 in the first, 1 in the second, and just kind of maintained from there.
And had a great night last night from Valdez. I mean, goes 7 2/3, no earned runs, and then Josh Hader screws it up. I mean, that's not what you expect.
Well,
no,
not
according to plan, as you might say.
Yeah, and who's the guy who was your closer last year?
Why am I? I got rid of him.
No, he's still there. He's supposed.
No, sorry, they brought him down to the 8th. Why am I blanking
Presley?
on my guy's name? Yes, thank you, Presley.
Yeah, he pitched
Ryan
the third
Presley?
of an inning.
Oh, okay. So he closed out the 8th,
He
and
did.
then you brought Hader for the 9th.
Correct.
Oof.
Oops.
Oof.
Maybe should have just rolled with the 3-batter minimum.
Oof. How does that work?
Well, once they brought once they got Hader up in the pen, he had to come in with the new rule.
Say what now?
Yeah, they got some new rule where if you warm up, you have to come in.
But what about the 3-batter minimum?
Well, it doesn't matter if you end the inning.
Okay. All right.
Once the inning's over, the minimum goes away. But
okay.
Yeah, it's let me see.
Baseball is almost getting too hard for me.
Dude, I'm telling you, it's when a pitcher takes his position at the beginning of each inning, relieves, blah blah blah. Let's see. I'll have to. You guys give me just a second here because I will have to go through this. If a new pitcher steps on the warning track with 2 minutes in that, and that's not it. I'm trying to
make
find
a guy
here.
come in because he starts warming up. I mean, because
My
what if you
favorite-
get somebody up for a lefty-righty situation?
My favorite is when you got 2 pitchers warming up. Which one has to come in? No, it's
Yeah, I don't know what sense that makes. While we're looking up obscure rules, I love
go ahead.
I love this that apparently rule 5.01F. I'm sure everybody's familiar with this. Ambidextrous pitchers now have to indicate which hand.
Yeah, they got to
use.
declare.
So just when you think you've got the game solved, they go and just ruin all the fun there.
You got to declare. You can't just stand out there and switch from one hand to the other and have the batters switching boxes. Mississippi State's got a kid.
I think I saw, is it Mississippi State? I saw a social post a couple days ago.
Yeah.
That some high profile program.
Yeah. Mississippi State's got a kid. We were going to try to get Neil Price on to talk a little bit about that last year and never managed to do so. But,
you
apparently,
those amphibious pitchers are my favorite.
I did not intend to go down this rabbit hole, but apparently here we are. And apparently this happened 24 times last year. Now, granted, that's out of 20,000 plus innings. So that is a relatively low number, but apparently it was enough that MLB said, you know what, we're going to have to at least put a rule in, and it takes all the fun out of it. That's the whole point of that's the whole fun of being able to do that. It's a great party trick, number one, but number two is it adds a little strategery to the game there.
Gerangelo,
a pitcher. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Gerangelo Cinche,Cijntje, is the sophomore pitcher down at Mississippi State who is ambidextrous, not amphibious, despite the famous headline from years ago. Yeah. Pitches both.
Hey, that's what you like to see right there.
He's also a switch hitter, by the way.
Well, of course.
Love that.
Bat/throws S/S. So what? Go ahead.
This says a pitcher who is sent out to warm up for an inning must face at least one batter, as well as any requirements under the 3-batter minimum if they weren't already inserted into the game. So if you warm up, you have to face a hitter.
Warm up on the
now,
mound.
Is that warm up in the
insinuating.
bullpen or warm up on the mound?
Oh, that's a good question. It doesn't say that. Now that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking, I guess what, right? Like you have the start of an inning, you send a guy out and you're thinking, all right, I'm going to warm up and just see what the other team does. And then I'll maybe pull him out of here.
No, once he takes the mound, he's got to face at least one batter.
Was that not already a rule?
I would have thought.
I thought so too. But it makes me a little more at ease knowing that, you just because you get a guy up in the bullpen, that has nothing to do with the pace of play, really, in my mind. So thank goodness.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes a little more sense, and I'm fine with that. Okay,
yeah,
so that's
MLB.
But
is
the way
not
that
being,
it was,
it feels like MLB is getting exceedingly over officious, and that would have been another step in that direction. So thankfully, that's not the case.
Okay,
yeah.
You're right. That makes me feel a little better. All right.
Yeah. As we mentioned during the rundown, the Sounds did actually get their game in despite an hour-long delay for weather, if you can believe that. But they did defeat St. Paul 5-4. I think they got a late home run in that one.
You'll take a win over St. Paul, though.
Second baseman Yanni Hernandez with a go-ahead 3-run homer in the 8th to rally the Sounds to that 5-4 victory after an hour-long weather delay. We come back here on Main Street Sports today, presented by TOA of Columbia. We'll talk a little midweek March Madness here. We didn't get to talk about these games yesterday, unfortunately, but a couple of thrillers set up your women's Final Four. We'll get to that on the other side of this break when we return to the Lee Company studios. Stay with us.
Welcome to Protein Snack Shop, your destination for healthy and delicious low-carb snacks. Our specialty lies in providing protein-packed desserts that are perfect for those following a keto diet. Our products are made with high-quality ingredients, ensuring that you can satisfy your cravings without compromising your health goals. From a variety of flavors and options to choose from, you can enjoy guilt-free snacking while staying on track with your fitness journey. Don't miss out on our limited time offer. Discover Protein Snack Shop today.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers. Putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
The second hour of Top 5 Wednesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. Those guys are Wade Neely and Chris Yao. And we got lucky Monday and got Doug Feinberg of the Associated Press on with us to talk a little bit about those two Monday night Elite Eight matchups that had the nation enthralled, LSU and Iowa, and then UConn and USC, and they did not disappoint.
No, they did not. And I mean, the numbers, I'll tell you what, just scrolling through Instagram today, I have seen at least 6 different just casual friends that have shared the meme with all of the stats from a ratings and social media engagement post about the LSU Iowa rematch. Obviously, UConn was a great game in its own right, but the fact that just so many casual folks are sharing and talking about the game, and I mean, we're 2 days now removed from this. I thought it was really cool to see, and obviously, it was a great game down the stretch too.
Absolutely. Iowa 94, LSU 87, UConn 80, USC 73 sets up your women's Final Four that will be played Friday night in Cleveland. NC State and South Carolina, followed by UConn and Iowa. Caitlin Clark and Paige Becker is on the same court. Does it get any better than that?
I mean, as far as one-on-one matchups, no. I mean, these two are probably the two best guards in the country. And certainly, again, as I've said, Beckers doesn't get hurt. I think that, she's probably among the greatest UConn players of all time, and that's a heck of a list. I mean, we've seen these two play together, Team USA a couple years ago. But to see them go at it one-on-one, man, this is going to be fantastic for women's basketball. As we've seen the ratings of 12.3 million viewers of that LSU Iowa game on Monday. Just, man, what a time to be women's collegiate basketball, at least.
And it's unfortunate that there is a faction out there kind of pitting this, the women's game at this point against the men's game, but I'll fall for it. Which finals are you more fired up about, Friday nights or Saturdays NC State Purdue / Alabama UConn matchups?
For me, it's the women's Final Four, and it's not close. I think the matchups are better. I think, and this is the thing that we've talked about a couple times, the superstar appeal. You're kind of getting lucky in the sense with Purdue and NC State. You've kind of got two household names, maybe is a bit of a stretch, but you got two guys that you're pretty familiar with. Alabama and UConn, I think it's going to be a good game, but I just feel like UConn is just kind of zapped the fun out of the tournament for a second straight year with just how dominant they've been. So for me, it's no doubt it's going to be NC State, South Carolina, and UConn, Iowa are the two more appealing games. Not to say that NC State and Purdue and Alabama, UConn couldn't be great games, but going into it, I'm definitely more interested in Friday night's games.
The intellectual dishonesty that is being used in that argument is not astounding because of who's using the arguments.
Mm-hmm.
But what none of them are telling you about 15 million people watching Duke in North Carolina, what none of them are telling you about the consistent viewership exceeding in the men's tournament, and how the reason the men's tournament is, or the men's tournament is showing you that it's still the superior product. They're absolutely, unequivocally wrong. Because 12.3 million people watched Iowa and LSU play basketball to watch the basketball. At least half, if not more, of those 15 million people who watched Duke, North Carolina, watched it because they either bet on the game or they had something to do with their brackets in their bracket pools. Had nothing to do with the basketball. And if you think I'm wrong, you're a liar. That's why the men's game that's why the men's game and March Madness gets the viewership. In addition to being on network television versus cable ESPN.
I think that's the bigger factor.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. I'm telling you that if you put both of those games on ESPN in January, LSU Iowa triples its viewership.
Oh, I think if you put them on CBS now, I think that's the thing. I just think, like you said, ESPN versus a network. And if you put them on ABC, what's the difference?
Well, they probably would have been the same. My point being is that it's not even close if it's in January.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what you're saying when you mention it. People are coming for the basketball,
right,
as opposed to
the
or even Sunday bracket. Sunday, Easter, you're zapped out from hunting eggs all day, and you're trying to kick back finally and watch some hoops. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I 100% though agree with you drop that game in an early Saturday afternoon in January, and that the ratings would probably be dramatically skewed in favor of the women's game because the matchup is more compelling. And I'm still a huge proponent of the fact it's because you got that superstar appeal and you got that familiarity. This is crazy to think about, that Edey has been there so long and has been dominant for the last couple of years. But you got some folks that are really just watching him really for the first time, and we're already down to the Final Four. And meanwhile, I've already seen more Caitlin Clark games than I've ever seen games of Zach Edey in its entirety,
and enjoyed them more.
100%.
Because I'm over Zach Edey, honestly. Between the way he plays and the way he's officiated.
And he's not necessarily the greatest example in terms of a quote unquote superstar. He just happens to be the best player. I mean, nothing about the guy's
he's the national
sort of
player
crossover.
of the year.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's the national player of the year, so he is the de facto face of college basketball. But really, nothing about the guy is super appealing marketing wise. I don't think anybody would necessarily argue that.
I will 100% tell you that I'm going to watch North Carolina State and Purdue because I want to see DJ Burns and Zach Edey go at it.
It's like I posted on Facebook a couple of days ago. If you don't like DJ Burns, you don't like America. I mean, this guy.
And imagine if he were still at Tennessee. I mean, that could have been the difference in the ball game.
We'll see.
We'll find out.
Saturday. Yeah.
I mean, North Carolina State doesn't have Dalton Connect, but I mean,
if Purdue only makes three pointers again, I get the feeling NC State is primed to knock them off this weekend.
They feel like a team of destiny and have since the ACC tournament, man. So I don't know. What does Alabama do with UConn though?
Pray.
Try to outscore them.
Pray they can get just enough stops defensively and hope they have a quality shooting night. If Alabama's got a quality shooting night, I think they have a decent chance. The good news for Alabama, they got a puncher's chance in this game. And if they could get any sort of stops on the defensive end, they're going to be more than a puncher's chance. But if they are not able to get the stops, I don't see any way UConn doesn't win this game.
You know, again, when we talked to Doug Feinberg of the Associated Press, he said South Carolina comes out of that semifinal. What about this other one? He mentioned that UConn's experience should offset their depth or lack of in this Iowa matchup. You know, I don't know if Gino Auriemma is coach speaking us to death or what, but he is certainly showing Caitlin Clark more respect than I've seen him pay any player in a long time.
I can't recall a player who has gotten the respect from Auriemma that Caitlin has, especially for someone who apparently didn't recruit her. So, I mean, it's impressive. To be honest with you, it's impressive that she's been able to, to make a believer out of him and a lot of other people. And, what blows my mind though, Mo, is that, I guess what was it? Her 40-point game last year, mid-season, it was probably December or January is when the first time I even heard Caitlin Clark's name. And she had that viral video where she did a couple of different moves and made some logo threes and it out of nowhere, so I mean, it's not, but she played on the women's national team 3 years ago. So I guess, I'm just an idiot and didn't see her before then, but yeah, it's amazing how she kind of came on as a junior so out of nowhere, and then you find out that she wasn't even recruited because obviously Auriemma chose Beckers over her, which has worked out pretty okay for him too. But yeah, it is interesting that he's just basically given her all, and maybe that's his plan. Maybe that's the goal, is to completely try to eliminate the internal Michael Jordan-esque,
trying to dull the edge a little bit.
Yeah, trying to take the edge from the motivation out. I don't know.
It's
because Mike, something. I mean, Mike would just make stuff up to piss himself off. Maybe he's trying to dull that. I don't know.
Trying to take some stuff out of her arsenal a little bit. Yeah.
It's wild.
I think I expect that to be a better game than NC State and South Carolina.
How about the fact that NC State and UConn are both in the men's and women's Final Four? It's the first time ever.
First time you've had two?
First time that two schools have been in both.
Yeah.
That's
South Carolina, I'm with Mo. I think I'm much more intrigued by UConn and Iowa just because I think the game's going to be closer. Vegas says Iowa's favored by 2.5, and Vegas says South Carolina's favored by double digits. So,
I mean, South Carolina
on paper it's going to be they've struggled for sure. And we talked about it with Doug on Monday. They've had a couple close calls recently. Obviously, the really close call versus Tennessee in the SEC tournament, but they haven't been as unflappable in this NCAA tournament as I think you might have initially suspected. But I just don't know that NC State is going to be able to be that team to pull off the upset.
Speaking of Tennessee, we do have Maria Cornelius of GoVols 24/7 lined up to join us at 3:20 tomorrow. We were supposed to have had her yesterday, but obviously we didn't have a show. So she's going to come on with us and kind of give us an update on the UT coaching search. So be sure and check in with us for that.
Hey, before we get out of this segment, The Athletic has reported that Fox Sports, the 16-team NIT rival tournament, is official for 2025 with auto bids from the Big 10, Big 12, and Big East. And I find this interesting. One,
is that NIL tournament that we were?
No, this is not the NIL. This is an interesting concept because those leagues have television contracts with Fox Sports, and so therefore could not maybe opt out of the postseason tournament, would be obligated to play in the postseason tournament from the Big 10, Big 12, and Big East.
Okay.
Find that, I mean, I don't think it's going to matter. I mean, it's not players who are going to enter the portal are going to enter the portal. I don't know how this is going to necessarily rival the NIT other than just being another postseason tournament. But it's interesting that, that they could force those teams like Indiana to play in the tournament.
Well, and I'm wondering if this is not kind of like what Mo was dipping his toe into a little bit there. If this is not maybe opening up the door for a little fusion of, hey, we got a lot of money. We're one of the biggest dogs in town, and maybe you run this out as a little trial balloon, and then after a year or two, oh, that went pretty well. Well, what if we sweeten the pot, and what if we start throwing some NIL money in kind of a postseason type format for the teams? Just think about the extra kind of juice that would be involved there. Just kind of that is something interesting to think about, and I feel like this is kind of set. I don't know where the tea leaves are pointing, but I feel like they're pointing in some direction. This doesn't feel like just a one-off.
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly what's going to end up happening for sure. But I still don't think it necessarily keeps you from entering the portal if you feel like you can get guaranteed money going forward.
One other thing to note before we hit this break, Angel Reese earlier today declared that she would make herself eligible for the WNBA draft that is 2 weeks from this past Monday, or a week from this coming Monday. April 15th will be the date of the WNBA draft. So Angel Reese will be leaving LSU. Camila Cardozo of South Carolina declared a couple of days ago. So I'm not sure why she declared with South Carolina still playing, but she did. Angel Reese, I think these young ladies had like 48 hours after their last games, once they were in postseason play, to declare. So
yeah, and it seems like it was announced via Vogue magazine, and so even if it's 48 hours, it seemed like her mind had kind of mentally been made up for a little bit. And I was a little shocked, not super surprised, but I was a little shocked just because of the NIL possibilities coming back as a senior. Clark's going to be gone. I mean, it could be your kingdom, as it were, yet again. Brink is gone from Stanford. I mean, so kind of semi-shocked, not obviously entirely shocked, but it just kind of caught me a little off guard. I thought she might give it one more run at LSU.
I don't know that I ever really thought she was coming back. And I think Mulkey fatigue is probably real. So
now that is true. That is a real thing.
Did you mention Tamari Key? I think you did, but
I did not mention Tamari Key. Has she declared as well?
She's not. She's not going to pursue her COVID year at Tennessee, is what she said. She didn't say she was going in the portal. She didn't say she was going to the WNBA draft. She just said she was not going to pursue her COVID year. So whatever that means.
I hope things go well for her. I hope that her previous health issues don't become a factor in her ability to pursue a professional career. Cameron Brink, Camila Cardozo, Rakea Johnson, Alyssa Peely has also declared for the draft. So there you are. Let's take a break from the Lee Company studios here along Highway 31 on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we return after this break, we will be joined by NashvilleHoops.blog's Joe Sullivan. Stay with us. Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Welcome to Protein Snack Shop, your destination for healthy and delicious low-carb snacks. Our specialty lies in providing protein-packed desserts that are perfect for those following a keto diet. Our products are made with high-quality ingredients, ensuring that you can satisfy your cravings without compromising your health goals. From a variety of flavors and options to choose from, you can enjoy guilt-free snacking while staying on track with your fitness journey. Don't miss out on our limited time offer. Discover Protein Snack Shop today.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers. Putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
Welcome back to Top 5 Wednesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by TOA of Columbia. If you tuned in for Wild and Wacky Wednesday,
too bad.
We apologize. Come back next week. But hopefully you'll stick around for Top 5 Wednesday, because the three of us are going to give you our most memorable April Fool's sports-related pranks. Should be fun. In the meantime, we are joined now by former Boston Globe sports editor Joe Sullivan, now of NashvilleHoops.blog, keeping you informed on Division I basketball in and around Nashville. Joe, what hat is that?
This is my alma mater, the St. Joseph's University.
Okay.
Who got a pretty good portal news yesterday, so I'm happy.
Good.
You got a guard from Rutgers, so I'm happy.
Okay, well, I'm glad that you mentioned portal news, because there always seems to be some. And you speculated in a text exchange between the two of us prior to the show that a portal revisit may lead to a portal return for a local product.
All right,
Any more word?
Yeah, I actually checked just before I came on. There's nothing official with this, but I'm hearing from multiple places that Malik Dia might be going back to Vanderbilt, which would be amazing, astounding. I don't know. It would be all those things. And I think it would be great news for Vanderbilt and Mark Byington, don't you think?
I think, yeah, it's just kind of mind-boggling to me. I mean, what does that say? What does that say about Jerry Stackhouse if that does in fact go down like that?
Well, I'm not sure about that, but I think it says something else about Vanderbilt, that the NIL money has arrived because and Jerry talked about not having access to enough of that in his final press conference, and that would have to be true if Dia does return to Vanderbilt based on the other things. I mean, I've heard him mention with schools as high level as Kansas. And again, this is fun to talk about, but we have no confirmation on all this. If we were publishing this, I'd be real hesitant. But we're talking on the radio, folks. We're on the internet, excuse me, and we're just talking, is what I can say. And so I do think NIL money is an important aspect of that. But news just within the last hour. Terrence Edwards, who was James Madison's leading scorer, committed to Louisville. So he's not coming to Vanderbilt with his former coach. And I think that might also speak to NIL money. Mm-hmm. It is, Jacoby Gillespie just committed to Maryland. And for hundreds of thousands of dollars, as far as I understand.
Goodness gracious.
Belmont's not going to compete with that, and it puts them in a very tough spot when Casey Alexander can recruit such a outstanding player as Jacoby Gillespie, develop him for 2 years. Because look, he wasn't transferring to Maryland after his freshman year; it was only after his sophomore year. Something changed. He got better, and
Cade Tyson.
Yes, Cade Tyson. So hearing very big name schools associated with Cade Tyson, the strongest, North Carolina and Clemson, where his brother played. Hearing those two as strong possibilities for him, which I think it shows to the quality of some of the players that have been at Belmont the last 2 years, that they're moving on to this high level. And cashing in on the name, image, and likeness possibilities, the opportunities.
Byington didn't get Terrence Edwards, but he did get Jalen Carey.
Right. So Jalen Carey is a 6'8", good size. He's I forget his weight, but he's like 240. I mean, he's a solid guy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he was just a freshman at James Madison, so he comes here with 3 years left. And he was a backup at James Madison, but that was a veteran team. So I think Byington must see the potential in him and feels he's going to be part of this team going forward. Still to be resolved at Vanderbilt, of course, is I'm looking down, there's 5 players who can come back still. The most important being Van Allen Lubin. If he were to come back, I think he'd be a necessary part. That's one that's certainly a player. I should dehumanize him. He's a player. Bring him back. That would be good. And Byington had a very interesting comment in his press conference last week, where he said he had been watching games from the year before, and he felt that there were players who did not see time this past season for Vanderbilt who could succeed in his system. That's what he said.
Wow.
Which shocked me, because if they were that good, certainly Vanderbilt could have used them doing something on the court this season. So that was interesting.
Yeah. Wade, you look like you got something on your mind.
Well, I'm just scrolling through. There's a lot on Nashville hoops here. And I'm also you mentioned transfer portal. That reminded me, I got to check the Michigan transfer portal and see what's going on there. But
yeah, you do.
Since we got Joe.
I have news for you on Michigan with transfer portal.
Come on, I just see they just hired Mike Boynton from formerly of Oklahoma State
as an assistant, which is a great hire.
Which is clutch, yeah.
So Danny Wolf, who's the 7-foot center from Yale, has visited Michigan this week and puts you in a very good position to get him, one of the top big men in the portal. He was just finished his sophomore year at Yale. He was a backup his first year, and he's very versatile center. Can play outside, good passer, not very athletic, I would say, but otherwise very smart, would fit in, I think, at Michigan. I think so. Danny Wolf is someone you should be interested in if you're a Michigan fan.
Remember him from the Auburn game a couple weeks ago, and he fouled out late in that game, and that was a huge loss, but they ended up obviously winning the game. Kind of getting back to really just Vanderbilt. It seems like we've seen nothing but good news to an extent coming out of West End, Joe, and I'm just real curious. What are Vanderbilt fans, do they know what to do with themselves right now? Because it feels like out of nowhere, there's just this glimmer and groundswell of hope after kind of some dark days for the last couple of months.
Look at Mo.
And that was a quick cackle, too.
Mo, do you want to jump in first?
No. Go right ahead. I just the way Wade phrased that was particularly funny, I thought. But yes, go ahead and enlighten us, Joe.
So, look, they had a very nice ceremony to introduce him to the public in Memorial. The band and the cheerleaders were there. There were fans. The public was invited. All the officials were there. The players, returning players who could possibly come back, were all there. So it was very nice. There's a lot of excitement associated with it. He's a high energy guy. He said all the right things. So if that gives Vanderbilt fans some hope, I guess it does. I think realistically, what has not changed is this roster needs a makeover. And that's when the good news will come, when we hear that officially, if they got Malik Dia or Kate Tyson to come from Belmont, now you're talking about getting talented players back in this program, and maybe others. There's plenty out there that are talented. It's almost too numerous. I would start like cherry picking people that I've seen in the transfer portal that would be good players for Vanderbilt. But there are a whole bunch. Now, what does that say? I would say 10 to 20 easily. That would improve this team greatly if Mark Byington can get them to come to Vanderbilt. So if I had the list in front of me, I could go down it for you. Maybe I should have made a list, huh? Maybe I will next time.
Here's a question that I have. Bigger loss for Vanderbilt by losing the Terrence Edwards sweepstakes, or bigger gain for Louisville in your mind?
So I would say bigger game for Louisville. I'm not. He would be a good player to have at Vanderbilt. Yes, but I tell you what, his. Now this is me talking personally. It is his style of play is inefficient is the term we use these days. That means he shoots a lot to score a lot.
Doesn't make a lot.
Yeah, but he will shoot a lot, so he will get a lot of points. He's a very good athlete. So not exactly my favorite type of player. So that's why I would answer that question that way. Now, in terms of what's hitting me now is retrieving memories. Is to me the Ivy League players that are out there like Danny Wolf. I would hope Mark Byington would also be recruiting Danny Wolf. But his teammate, Matt Knowing, is like 6'6" forward with a great high IQ game. I think he would be a tremendous player for Vanderbilt. And, of course, I got to retrieve his name. Malik Mack is his name, was the freshman of the year in the Ivy League who played for Harvard in the transfer portal, averaged 17 points a game as a freshman. He's another type of player who needs to have the ball a lot. Whether that Mark Byington likes that or not, I'm not sure, but he's talented and he can play anywhere. He's from Washington, D.C., so right away people were immediately associating with Georgetown. I haven't heard that for certain yet.
Joe Sullivan with NashvilleHoops.blog joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by TOA of Columbia. And, Joe, you and Wade during your exchange about Michigan mentioned Mike Boynton joining Dusty May's staff up there as an assistant coach, formerly of Oklahoma State, kind of created some dominoes there. Steve Lutz left Western Kentucky after one season to take that Oklahoma State job. And I was impressed at the speed with which Western Kentucky named Hilltopper assistant Hank Plona as Lutz's replacement up there. I mean, it was almost immediate. So,
Wow, it's so nice to hear you compliment Western Kentucky, Mo.
Yeah, it's not going to happen often, but I'll tell you, I mean, in this day of, extended coaching searches and that kind of thing, it's kind of, now, I mean, obviously they had a good season this year. Again, more compliments for Western Kentucky, but I mean, it's a little easier to elevate someone off the staff when you've had a good year as opposed to when you've struggled and you're just completely cleaning house. So
it makes sense, doesn't it? The continuity, especially since rather than it's almost like you don't have a new coach. At least it's just the assistant moving one seat over. So I think that's smart. For the continuity, and Western Kentucky, hey, they did have a surprisingly good season, and let's
and
with all these coaches,
he did what you're supposed to do in that situation. He got out because you can stay too long, right? Yeah.
You absolutely can. There's no doubt. And I think it's funny that you mentioned that because I was thinking Dusty May, him getting out when he did, and that has obviously opened the transfer portal floodgates for FAU, who, John L. Davis, and then the center.
Golden, Vladimir Golden. Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting how that all plays out. But if we're talking about coaches, I have somehow, I guess it was because of all of the Tupac talk that we had at one point, Mo, and then me having a former podcast co-host from Corvallis on my Twitter following.
Okay.
And so somehow I have gotten involved pretty heavily in Washington State, Oregon State Twitter. And Washington State fans, at least, I've not seen anything, have seriously been talking about Bob Huggins.
So they made a hire. They hired the Mike. I think it's Mike Riley from Eastern Washington.
Did they? Okay. Yes. Well, thank goodness, because I was going to ask you what are they thinking, and two,
what are they thinking?
Is it likely that dude, that Bob Huggins has a job next year?
Never say never, but it'd be troubling. A lot of good craft beer in Washington. So it could be trouble for Huggy out there.
Jeez.
I wish him the best in his recovery.
He's gonna have to go to BYU, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's gonna go to Utah where they don't have any of that.
That would be the best move for him, I would think. Bringing things back a little closer to home, Belmont did get a couple of transfers out of the portal. Couple of guards, as I'm perusing NashvilleHoops.blog. Furman's Carter Witt and Liberty's Brody Peebles. This will be Witt's third stop, having previously played at Wake. So, and then again, Peebles coming from Liberty, which as an MTSU graduate, I'm perfectly fine with Liberty losing somebody that can play. Scored over 3,000 points at Hartselle, Alabama, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
So
great guy. Great.
Do you know what bothers me about that bio, though? Can't we figure out exactly how many he scored? Why does it say over 3,000?
Well, because it's Hartselle,
big
Alabama.
Big difference between 3,001 and 3,091, isn't I don't know, 3,901. That drives me crazy as a former editor, I guess. But to be so unspecific about that number, but I guess he can score points. That's what it means. He hasn't in college to that degree. He's a substitute. He came off the bench at Liberty, which was an okay team this year. We'll see. Now, Carter Witt is interesting, more interesting than the Liberty kid, because he was a top 100 player coming out of high school, and he ended up in the ACC with Wake, and he was there. It was the COVID year when teams didn't play full schedules, but he started a lot of games his freshman year for Wake, and then he's been backpedaling since. And then he went to Furman, where he actually played with Joe Anderson, who's Lipscomb's point guard for I guess 2 years. And I was hearing from Joe Anderson that he thinks he's a good player. He has potential. This is a guy that maybe could find the right spot in the right offense with Belmont and how they play. That one has potential, but by no kind of stretch of the imagination can we compare this as being equal to what they're losing.
Absolutely. Witt is probably not the most talented Furman guard in the transfer portal, because former Hillsborough standout J.P. Pegues is also in the portal, and I did a quick Google, and apparently JP was yesterday on campus at the loveliest village on the plains.
Auburn, good place for him, huh?
Mm-hmm. Well, I wonder if he wouldn't like to come back home, though.
Yeah, it would be a very nice portal acquisition for Vanderbilt. If he, you were thinking Vanderbilt as opposed to Belmont there, were you?
Yes. Because
if he's visiting Auburn,
then Belmont
the NIL is going to be too high for Belmont.
So, Joe, who do you like this weekend? The Final Four and the championship game will have been played before we visit with you again, most likely. So, who do you like?
I'll just say I think I'm looking forward to, and I think we'll see a UConn Purdue final where they really are the two best teams. And as much as we love to watch DJ Burns of North Carolina State, the fellow fat man, it's really me, those two teams in the final Monday night. I hope we get good semifinal games. The point spreads are very big, like 9 and 11 points. So the Las Vegas is not expecting much of a game much of these games on Saturday. So let's have that big final, UConn against Purdue. And UConn will be favored, and I hate picking favorites, but I just think UConn has been so clearly the best team. What they did to San Diego State and Illinois back-to-back, two very good teams that, they just really crushed them. I'm winning by 30 against San Diego State, and then scoring 30 straight points against Illinois. It is I'm stealing this line from Matt Norlander of the CBS Ion College Basketball Podcast, but he said we won't see something like that in our lifetime again, a 30 straight points scored in an NCAA tournament team, especially when you move, if it's not a first-round game. It's just extraordinary what they're doing and what they've done. So UConn Huskies, 2 years in a row. Amazing. I know. Yeah, we have to.
First time since Florida.
Yeah, and it's for some of us that means Danny Hurley becomes more of a Yoda-like character, which can be strikes me as kind of annoying. So it's wisdom from him. I'm dubious. He can coach basketball, but I don't want anything else besides that.
Hey, Joe, real quick, we usually have Wild and Wacky Wednesday, but here's a little Wild and Wacky for you. I meant to mention this last week. You had 3 Boston area teams or Massachusetts teams in the NCAA hockey tournament. We're down to the Frozen Four. BC and Boston are both in there. But tell me why my Michigan Wolverines are going to win the ice hockey championship this year.
I wish I could give you some expertise in this area.
That's why it's Wild and Wacky, right?
But I just know following it a little bit that this is one of BC's really good teams. They changed coaches. They'd had a coach there who had won multiple national championships, and he retired. And the new coach has put together this real juggernaut of a team that really I don't think will be beaten. BU just did beat them in the Hockey East Finals, I saw, but I'm going BC for this, and I'm sorry about your Wolverines.
That's okay. And that's more than I was anticipating you being able to deliver, but that's why you're the pro, man. So thank you for that.
He is.
Well, you got to keep an ear to the ground of all things Boston.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Former Boston Globe sports editor Joe Sullivan of NashvilleHoops.blog joins us every Wednesday, and Joe, we appreciate it. And
one thing before we go, Mo, I don't mean to
come on,
but how about Indiana State last night?
Yes.
Look, did anybody see it? The NIT is worth watching with Indiana State in it,
especially in Indiana.
Yeah.
Check out Yao's background.
Background.
Was that Butler up there?
He's there
That's
right
the cathedral.
now.
Oh wow.
That is the cathedral.
Yeah, Hinkle. It's just such a great arena. It's sold out. What a great scene on TV. And I'm very happy for Indiana State that they were able to get something out of the season that's going to be valuable. Seton Hall's playing great, though, so we'll see. Looking forward to that game Thursday night.
Should be fun. Look out for Larry Nerd and the Sycamores. Joe, thanks, man. We'll catch up with you.
Thank you, Joe.
See you guys. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Hey, when we come back, it's Top 5 Wednesday. Stay with us. I'm Maurice Patton, and on Main Street Sports Today, we bring you the voices of your favorite teams from preps to pros. Otherwise known as the VOT, Mike Keith.
The bottom line is we can teach Will Levis woke.
I just don't know who's going to work with you on your base stealing now that EY's gone.
Well, that has nowhere to go but up. And I was just like, oh, guys, not again. Can we just bury that, burn that footage, and not bring it back?
No.
No. Thank you. We'll keep it going past the All-Star break, and looking forward to seeing how the rest of the season plays out. There's always a good story to tell.
Can you guess where I am today, Mo? Where am I?
It's not Reese Smith Field, is it?
Yeah.
Because anytime you play Chicago, you want to win. That's just
you got that right, and
that's
bottom line. A buzz.
When you're walking the dog, you keep the bags that you need for the dog in the bag, and you don't even have to wear it. You can just hold it, which is what I do when I walk the dog. So
I think the fanny pack probably needed a little rebranding.
It did. It really did.
On your show logo, we've got to get a puck in there. There's a basketball. There's a football. There's a baseball. Maybe not a puck. How about Mo brandishes a hockey stick?
Tune in daily at 2 p.m. on Main Street Media TV.
Top 5 Wednesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by TOA of Columbia. So let's get right to it. Top 5 sports-related April Fool's pranks. Y'all start us off.
I'm going to go with when the Phillies convinced the pitcher he was Kyle Kendrick that he was being traded to Japan. Let's go with that.
That's pretty amazing. Yeah. That Google these stories, y'all, because they are going to be fun reads. Wade.
Yeah, a lot of these have been very enjoyable to read. The one that jumps out to me, and this would not fly in 2024 by any stretch, but do you guys remember when Pete Carroll got in a quote-unquote fight with Lindale White, and Lindale White, quote-unquote, jumped off the building? And like I said, this would not fly in 2024 by any means, but I vividly remember, and that just shows you how wild USC was. They had Snoop hanging out at all the practices. They were winning national championships. They were, winning, I guess, still technically Heisman's. But they faked Lindale White's own death, and then his team was kind of cracking up that he came back to life. Not kosher now, but it was crazy back then.
Yeah. Things have changed. I'm going with Sports Illustrated's 1985 piece by George Plimpton on Sid Finch, the Tibetan monk who was going to pitch for the New York Mets. Had him on the cover and everything. Again, Google it. Sid, 2Ds, Finch. Do I get to pick again?
Go
All
again.
right. In 2005, the golf equipment supplier Dunlop announced that their technology had helped them develop a golf ball exclusively for left-handers.
Mm-hmm.
I could use
like
that one.
left-handed toilet paper and left-handed whoppers. If you
and
remember those
left-handed tongs
brands.
like we had when I was working at Bonanza in high school.
There you go.
Yeah. So
if it gets my score lower, I'm gonna get in on them left-handed golf balls. I could use it. Up next for me, 2006. You guys may remember this. Billy Donovan, fresh off the second time we've mentioned the Florida Gators winning the back-to-back national championships. He, quote unquote, dropped the national championship trophy at their Midnight Madness the next year. Everybody thought he shattered the crystal and the trophy was destroyed. Turns out it was a fake and it was an elaborate prank. And Billy
Quite
Donovan
elaborate.
just good for a cheap laugh.
Quite elaborate.
In my research, I found out there was a Florida football recruit, though, that several years later really did knock over one of the national championship football trophies, and they had to claim insurance on it. So Billy kind of opened Pandora's box a little bit there, I guess.
Did that recruit come, or did they pull his offer?
That part I could not figure out. It was not somebody I was familiar with.
All right. Yeah. You got
Tom Brady retiring in 2019. He said, in the meantime, I'm just going to tweet. And then he replied back, was this a bad joke? And it was hilarious. Because I think that was his first tweet. Was like,
you're right. Yeah.
I'm retiring. In the meantime, I'm just going to tweet, because it was right after he had left the Patriots, that wouldn't let him tweet, apparently. We'll go back to 1930 when Babe Ruth revealed that he had lost so much weight by intensive spring training that he's been forced to give up his career as a baseball player and become a horse jockey. That was in the Miami News Record, April 1st, 1930.
Very nice. They had a sense of humor even back then.
Back then. All right.
Wade.
Oh, Wade.
This one caught me. I was not familiar with this story, but I love it for a variety of reasons. The year is 2005, and the Lakers had a rookie named Tony Bobbitt. Rookies always get in trouble and get in crazy situations. Well, Lucy Liu was at the Lakers game, and this rookie, Tony Bobbitt, says, "Guys, she is staring at me." And so they put together a prank, and they gave him her phone number, supposedly. Turns out it was Vlade Divac's phone number. And he showed up for his date. He showed up for a date with Lucy Liu. The whole team was there. And they said, "Sorry, rookie, you're stuck with us." So he thought he had a date with Lucy Liu. Instead, he went to dinner and probably had to pay for dinner for the whole team.
That's unfortunate. 2016, Oregon announced that they were installing an LED football field with clear turf filaments so that they could change colors on a dime. And in 2018, the professional bull riding circuit announced that they were doubling the required time for a good ride from 8 to 16 seconds.
That's a pretty solid prank.
Yeah.
Bull riders everywhere revolted.
Yeah. No, I'm good.
I've been training my whole life for this. Now you just changed the game up.
Time to find another line of work. Yeah.
Coming down the stretch here, semi in the vein of Wild and Wacky also. Go back to the year 1896. I'm sure you guys remember this. Georgia Tech and Auburn. Supposedly, Auburn students greased the train tracks that Georgia Tech was using, the railroad back then, and the train could not stop in time, so they had to go like 4 miles, 5 miles down the road, and all of the Georgia Tech players had to walk back for their game. So, a good old school prank.
All right. Kingsport Times, April 1st, 1943. A couple of junior high school graduates faced off King's problems, rebuilding the line of Dobbins-Bennett High School as young football giants DW and DW Sally, identical twins, double trouble, weighing at 399 and stand 11 feet tall.
Hey, you'll have to check us out on Twitter to get the rest of these because we got to go. We'll see you tomorrow. We've got Craig Revis from Siegel, Maria Cornelius from Go Vols 24/7. See you then.